So if you have a heart, this film is probably going to rip it clean out of your chest. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Jane Theory. Today we discuss Marriage Story. Now, Marriage Story is a film written and directed by Noah Baumbach and stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. The film is not a new release, but most people probably became aware of it when it dropped on Netflix last week. It was recently nominated for 6 Golden Globes, including one for Best Picture Drama, and has been gaining a lot of buzz ever since. What makes this film interesting, despite its popularity in fancy foreign film circles, is that it is not one of those totally unrelatable schmuck pieces nominated for a gazillion awards that no real person actually sees or cares about. Driver described this film as a love story about divorce, and that is truly fitting. Because this film tells the heartbreaking and yet hopeful narrative of a couple maneuvering through a divorce while trying to maintain some level of civility and sanity. The acting was top-notch, obviously. There's no surprise there given the cast, but their work is supported with well-structured cinematography and a brilliant script that just rips your heart out. It has been compared to Kramer vs. Kramer, and that is quite the honor for any film in this genre. Another amazing attribute of this film is that there is no right or wrong side here, and no winner, ultimately, as there generally isn't in real-life divorces either. We have 2 parents who genuinely love one another and their child, but they're getting a divorce, and decisions have to be made. Throughout the story, you follow each character as they make one decision after the next in true-to-life scenarios. You see them endure facts and circumstances that shape those decisions for the better or the worse, starting with a lack of communication and talking past one another, which is to be expected when each person is fearful of the unknown as it relates to their ability to move forward and maintain a life as close as possible to normal with their child. You have conflicting and subconscious motives that are really worked through on the screen. You have jealousy and helplessness and fear and depression and stress, childhood trauma and other emotional baggage that rise to the surface, and extended family and friends whose very real and relevant feelings tend to be forgotten in these situations. And then, of course, there's the court system itself and attorneys who can tend to escalate an already devastatingly bad situation. Speaking of which, I did appreciate how this film includes the basic rudimentary process of retaining a lawyer. Not only the arm and leg you have to get up to afford one, but also the different approaches that lawyers can take in handling a case, and how the lawyer you choose can reduce or add friction to an already tense situation, turning what is in fact a family crisis into a game where everyone stands to be quickly swallowed into an empty pit of pettiness and manipulation, which you might even describe as a fiery pit that leaves the last person standing burned and broken. Marriage Story shows the audience up close the ugliness of divorce by way of a level of jarringly realistic dialogue you don't ordinarily see. In fact, there's this one powerful scene that everyone's talking about where people have mentioned literally shaking through it, and I understand why. This film doesn't in any way sugarcoat the pain and suffering the couple endures, but it also doesn't pretend that there isn't still some semblance of love there as well. If I have anything negative to say about this film, is that the pacing is a bit off at times. There are some scenes that drag a bit longer than necessary, but that may have also been intentional. As in real-life divorces, there can be months where nothing is happening, and in one day it can feel like your whole world is crashing down. Overall, Marriage Story fairly depicts the gravity, nuance, and complexity of real-life family breakups. If you enjoyed this film, you may want to check out American Son, which is also on Netflix. I have a review for it on my channel. That film is has a different underlying theme, but it also depicts a family in crisis, experiencing a separation, and has similarly realistic dialogue between the spouses. In any event, I did enjoy this film and I do recommend you watch it. If you're thinking about divorce or experiencing one right now, it's worth checking out because it can give you a different perspective, a different third-party insight or view into what you may be going through. And I have to say this too, some folks have noticed I tend to review films I like, but this is one I was not really sure about at first. You see, my background is in family law, so I see this all the time, and I know how Hollywood tends to do a terrible job when it comes to court dramas. But this one was quite the departure from the norm. The scene in the courtroom, that scene would have played out in a mediation or a conference setting more likely, but the dialogue could have been off of any family law court transcript. I'm not entirely sure it wasn't. It is literally at times just as crazy as it sounds in this film, and they get my respect for getting it mostly right. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check back next week for more.